Welcome to this edition of On the Scene. I'm your host, Tim Kelly. On today's program, we're going to highlight the upcoming summer reading program with Suffolk Public Library and preview Census 2020. It's that time again. Be ready to be counted. Stay tuned. Welcome back to On the Scene, joined now by two very special guests from our Suffolk Public Library to talk about what's happening this summer. And there's a lot going on, quite frankly. So we have two helpers to help us talk about this day, both managers over with the Suffolk Public Library, Megan Mulvey, who's the Outreach and Program Services Manager, and Jennifer Brown, who's the Youth and Family Services Manager. So ladies, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you.
Summer reading, I know it's one of the big things a lot of parents and care providers are looking at, so what's going to be in store, but it's not just a simple answer in that it's not just read some books, we'll take care of it. There's awards programs, prizes, and a lot of things that kind of connect with it so that you'll make it a very enriched program. So let's kick it off talking about summer reading program as far as with Suffolk Public Library. Where can we start on that to talk about what's going to be happening and how people can take part?
Sure. So we have a reading challenge that we're doing again this year. I believe that in the past couple of years we've given the community a goal, a reading goal to reach, and we are upping it every year. We are surprised by what Suffolk can do.
Correct.
And we shouldn't be at this
point.
No. But every year we say, maybe a little bit more. I think we started with 3,000 books or something like that. And last year we read over 8,000 books. So this year our community goal is 14,000 books. If we reach that goal, we're going to have a celebration. Well, we're going to have a celebration either way, but the celebration will then also include a color blast, which is similar to what you've seen at like those color runs, where people are throwing colored powder at one another in a kind way.
Of course, of course.
And so that'll be part of our celebration at the end of the summer.
Cool.
I would be surprised if we didn't.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. So last year I think our goal was 8,000 and we met it with I think it was like 14 or 15,000. So we're trying to up the ante a little bit this year. So if our community could do it last year, we can most certainly do it again this year. And so the Color Blast is going to happen at our end of the summer carnival, which is kind of a celebration of all things summer and what we've been able to accomplish and all of our programming and whatnot. So that will be held on Saturday, August 3rd. Yep. And so the color blast will be kind of the crowning moment at the end. So we'll announce whether or not we made the goal, and then we'll bring out all of the color powder, and we'll have almost like a color war essentially. So we're trying to create an experience that people will remember over time.
Now, with the reading challenge, let me ask: is it just for young people, or is it for people of all ages?
It's people for all ages. So you can log your books online. You can just visit our website and sign up and log in there. You actually get a raffle ticket for every book that you read. And so what that'll do is it puts you into a drawing at the end of the summer. And we have prize packages based off of age groups. So what we've kind of found in the past is that we have these little guys that read and read and read. So we wanted to make it a little bit more equitable across the board. So we'll have a prize pack for young kids, teens, and adults. And there's actually some options. So we're not just handing it to you and saying, this is what you won. We're handing you a list and you get to pick from that list.
That is nice. That is
nice. A lot of care went into figuring out what these prizes would be and trying to think of what people in Suffolk would like to experience. We say that word a lot, experience. We want people to be able to, go to Great Wolf Lodge, I think is one of the prizes, or go to Williamsburg. Don't quote me on all of these things.
I understand. Well, but
see our website for more information.
I know it's on TV.
Sure,
double check on
But
the
again,
website.
that's why we want to drive everybody to the site so they can check out exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
Is it as simple as just going to the website? You don't have to go into one of the branch locations to do anything. Is that
Don't have
correct?
to.
Yeah, you honestly don't even have to step into our building if
Right.
you don't want to.
Right.
You can read books that you have at home,
Okay.
log them online,
Got it.
and that all gets counted
Perfect.
toward it.
Got it.
So if you happen to win the prize, then
Right.
we just contact you and
Nice.
ask you what your options
We
are.
could, I guess, even bring the prize to you. I mean, that would be bold, but we'd love it.
Add to the experience, right?
Exactly.
Love it
Yes.
if people would come in and
Of
visit
course,
us.
and I was going to say, that's the point. I mean, driving people to see the resources that Suffolk Public Library has to
Right.
offer, not just during summer, but year round. But obviously here, people have, leisure time and kids are home and things like that, and people are looking to do things, and reading is a great thing to do year round. Now, I know that y'all also have some online offerings. They can use those. You said you can use books from home, so really it's just the point is driving people to read something. Is that, I mean, in a nutshell, that's what we're talking about, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then we want to bring them into our building
Of course.
with our wonderful
Yes.
program calendar.
That's right.
That's mainly what our programs are for, is
Right.
to provide, again, those experiences
Sure,
for families
sure.
and adults over the summer who are just kind of looking for something to do.
But to be fair, it's not even just our building that we're
That's
actually
true.
asking people to visit, because the library goes with you anywhere. So we are having programs. Well, actually, we're kicking off the summer challenge with our event, the 4th annual
Okay.
Amazing Peanut Chase.
Nice.
It's a citywide scavenger hunt. And it changes every year with new clues that will take you to different places
Got it.
throughout the city. In the past, we've focused on historic sites or maybe just interesting sites.
Right.
And that's going to be, there's so much to Suffolk.
Right,
So
right.
that's going to be the case this year. But we keep it fresh. So this year there'll be more of a green element
Right,
to the
okay.
program, where one of the prizes for a group, so we ask people to get a group together, and if they pick up, the group that picks up the most trash, using some of those kits that we have at the library, through a partnership with our friends over at the city of
Yes.
Suffolk, we will give them a prize for that, and then there'll be prizes for social media posts, and the person who does it, the team that does it the quickest.
I think it's nice y'all bring a good creative element to it. It's not just a one thing. You kind of give people of different approaches opportunities to win prizes and participate, and I think that's great because y'all are really big into getting into the community, getting your services out there, like you said, being in touch with different organizations, talking about the rich history of Suffolk and really all of Suffolk that has to offer, and I think that's great that y'all tap into that resource through the programs that you offer year-round. So.
Yeah, and speaking of things that are off-site and kind of in the community,
Yes.
we'll be having Family Friday programming in the parks.
Okay.
So Lake Mead and Bennett's Creek Park will have programming there that we'll be hosting, but we're going to bring in some people, like we're going to have Nauticus there, and we're going to have some insect collecting and a couple of other things.
Nice.
So really trying to get families outside and
Yes.
active and doing things, and
Right.
again, experiencing the parks through
Right.
Parks and Rec that we have as well. So
Great.
not just us.
Not just us.
Nice. Now, it gives, there's a multitude of things that y'all are offering throughout the summer. And again, as I always like to say, year round. But a lot of that information can be found on your online calendar. I know you have the printed material, but again, the online is perhaps most up to date and current, putting things on there. And a good way to see there, if there's registration, I think you can register through some of those, but most of it's really just walk-in kind of things, right?
Most of it is. We ask for registration, usually just to get a sense of how much we need to prepare.
Correct.
If
Right.
there are
Right.
limited supplies. There's some programs this summer that we are focusing on instruction, so that we're building skills,
Got it.
regardless of how old you are. So you think of coming to story time
Right.
at the library, but maybe it would be surprising to learn that we have sign language
Right.
classes, which we do this
Right.
summer.
That's right.
And that program definitely we would want registration
Right.
for, so that we can have an idea of how many people will be in the class. We are also continuing our ESL classes.
Got it.
So that instruction will continue. We just have, and we have so many art classes too.
We do have
art
a lot of art
classes,
classes.
but you know, you can get art classes at a lot of great places in Suffolk.
Sure.
I think what we are trying to do is incorporate different types of experiences, again that word, into our events
Right.
and classes. So this year we've been focusing a lot on technology. So we incorporate technology into our classes.
Got it.
We're doing like a 3D class. I think what is it called? Let's make an action figure.
Oh, nice.
Where teens will make an action we'll see an action figure designed on our 3D printer, and then they'll create a character
Nice.
and paint the figure. And we sneak technology in there a lot.
Especially with our What the Tech initiative for this year.
Right.
So any chance that we really can, we'll sneak
sure.
a little piece of technology
Yes.
in there just to kind of expose the community to
Of
what's
course.
available, let them try it out, learn a little
Right.
something new, and then they can decide if it's something that they want to pursue later as well.
Yeah.
And I think it's nice that, you know, y'all really do emphasize the lifelong learning as far as for folks. It's not just kids, it's not just teenagers, it's not just you know, moderately aged adults, shall we say.
No.
It's everybody in there, and I think, again, that's that community element that y'all really bring into it. I mean, all the events that y'all have at your 3 different locations and out in the community as well. I know, again, history is a big thing, like say the experiences, tapping into the technology. It's just a question of you figuring out what you want to do and then going to the library and they'll connect you to something they're going to do. Or I know it's been the case sometimes y'all create programs based on what community needs are, right?
Well, a program that actually taps into like history, but also and building community, but also technology is our. We are going to do a DIY art keepsake book. So if you are the parent of a small child, you know that they come home from preschool with a lot of stuff,
Yes, they do.
a lot of paper,
Yeah.
and I love it. And then I put it in the recycling bin
Right.
usually, but I've heard that that's kind of a cold approach to parenting. And so I have a little pile of the special ones. You can bring that pile of special things of your keepsakes
Right.
and create a book that will be more long lasting than you know,
Right.
something that probably was made with finger paint
Right.
and
Yeah.
pudding.
Come down off the fridge, you got to put it somewhere, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we're going to use our scanners.
Okay.
And so you'll get an opportunity, if you haven't used a scanner before, to use a scanner and then create your own book that will have all of those wonderful treasures in it.
Nice. Nice. Cool. Well, Jennifer and Megan, thank you both for being with us today to talk about, again, just some of the things that are going to be happening this summer through Suffolk Public Library. Again, we'll refer you to the website. We'll have that URL on the screen. Check out some of the printed materials that you can go into any library location and pick up. But again, it's just a question of finding out what you want to do and connecting with the Suffolk Public Library, and they will make it happen. I guarantee you that. Again, lifelong learning, one of the big approaches there. Ladies, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
we'll have more on the scene when we return. Welcome back to On the Scene. We're joined now by Kevin Krigsvold. He's a partnership specialist with the U.S. Census Bureau to talk about Census 2020. Believe it or not, that time is coming around pretty soon. Kevin, thanks for being with us
Happy
today.
to be here. Happy to be here.
When we talk about the census, let's boil it down to its really nuts and bolts. What are we talking about?
So the census, for a couple different reasons. Most importantly, well, maybe not most importantly, but one of the things that's most important is the fact that it's for reapportionment of seats for Congress. So every census, some states gain seats and some states lose seats based on census numbers. So it's vitally important that we have correct information and data about for each state. But maybe what's more importantly for communities like Suffolk and cities is the fact that $675 billion is distributed from the federal government back into the communities based on census numbers. So things like, you know, your roads, your hospitals, your schools, school lunch programs. You know, there are many places around here even that 100% of students are on reduced or free lunch. That money comes from the federal government. So if there's an undercount at all, then there's a possibility that the money that's supposed to be coming back to this community won't come back. We don't have exact numbers for what that means, but depending on, some areas use more federal dollars than others, but the general number that we use is roughly about $2,000 per person who does not fill out their form. So if you just do the quick math on that, if 1,000 people aren't filling out their form, $2,000 per person, and then you multiply that over 10 years. That's a huge amount of money that's not coming back into the community. So as we're doing our best to make sure that every single person fills out their form correctly and accurately so that the money will come back into the community. It's not just this huge government monolith that's looking for your information. That money is affecting people every day here in this community in Suffolk.
Now, when can we expect everything to kind of start happening in 2020?
Right. So you're going to start getting a mailer probably in around middle of March. The actual census day is April 1st, 2020. That's our big kickoff day. But you're going to start seeing pieces of information in the mail before that. And what that's going to be is a card that's going to have a URL on it. So the one thing we're doing this time around is instead of the old-fashioned way where we just send something in the mail, people would fill it out, send it back. We're trying to be proactive this time, so we're doing a URL. So we're trying to get people to do it online first. And if they do it online, you'll get that piece of mail first with the URL on it. Okay. There are going to be people that are not going to have access to the internet. My mom, for one, doesn't have access to the internet.
Right.
So we're going to have online first. Mm-hmm. There's also a section called, there's a phone call opportunity that we wouldn't have in the past. And that someone on the other end of the line will actually fill out the form for you from the Census Bureau. So if they're having trouble. There is going to be the mail-in option, as we've always had. And then the last case thing we're going to do is have people actually knock on doors. But we're trying to prevent that. We're trying to mitigate that as much as possible. We want people to fill it out online for a myriad reasons. Most importantly, it's going to save us a lot of money. Our budget has skyrocketed over since 1970. It's doubled every year, every census since 1970. So we're trying to bring the costs down as much as we can. So online is also going to make it more efficient for us and allow us to have the information quicker.
Now, when we talk about the data that's really trying to be gleaned through the census process, what are some of the basics other than you exist, you're this old, you're that old, that kind of a thing like that? What other information are the basics that we're looking for?
That's really all. I haven't seen what we're doing for this time around. They're still working on that, but there's only going to be between 10 and 11 questions, okay. And it's going to be the basic questions: your age, your sex, the people who live in the house, Hispanic origin, are you a renter or an owner, or you own the house? So basic questions like that. So that's basically
right.
It. There is something called the American Community Survey, mm-hmm. which gets sent out to random people throughout the 10-year period, right. Which is a longer form, which asks more in-depth questions. It's a much longer process that gets in depth about how much money you make and things of that sort. But for the 2020 census, April 1st, 2020, again, it's going to be 10 to 11 questions for everybody in the country. So a short form for everybody.
Now, the information that's collected, how is that information protected for people who worry about either identity theft or anything that might come about through this? You're not collecting Social Security numbers through this process, so. No.
It's one of those things that's, we understand that people have a general fear because if things can be online, the expectation is it could be breached. But we're working hard to make sure that there's no issue like that at all. And also, people can be understand that the fact that we in the Census Bureau take an oath of office as well. Everybody who works for the Census Bureau could go to jail for 5 years and have a $250,000 fine if any personal identifiable information is leaked at all. Right. So we can't provide any information to the police, to FBI, to ICE, to the housing authorities, anybody like that at all. So it's protected in the fact that we're that privacy clause that we have, and the fact that we're working hard with top professionals on the internet to make sure that information is secure.
You know, I know that every time the census is done, every 10 years we're talking about that, or different depending upon the forms. You mentioned about the longer form that may have already gone out. I'm sure there are lessons that are learned about to streamline the process, make it easier for the end user to get the best results, the most amount of people responding. Anything learned from last time that will be applied this time?
It's exactly what I was talking about. So in the past, it was a simple mailer and a bit cumbersome, and it wasn't very cost effective.
Sure.
So what we're trying to do now is with the internet response first and foremost internet response, then the telephone base, and then mailing, and then knocking on doors. So in that order is trying to bring down the cost as much as possible. So those are our big lessons that we've learned.
Right.
Since 1970, the census costs have doubled every single census. So it was very expensive last time around, and we're trying to bring those costs way down this time around.
And of course, you're talking about tax dollars that you're trying to that will be appropriated through the census process, but we're trying to minimize the use of them. And I know the door-to-door option would be definitely the most expensive and labor-intensive as far as when you get to that option. But another thing that I think that's being done is also reaching out to the communities and getting key partners in the community to make sure that people understand the process and are helping people participate in the process as well, correct?
That's exactly right. So one of the things we're trying to do is we're trying to bring in what are called complete count committees. So every city, every county in the country, we're trying to do this, where we're trying to bring in a partnership with the city. So we have one with Suffolk, as a matter of fact, and other cities as well. And what that is that's a group of individuals who are from this community who can get into what we call low response score areas. So there are some communities. Suffolk has at the highest, maybe 20% of people are not responding or self-responding to their forms, which is problematic because of the $2,000 range that we talked about. So we're trying to get people within the community to say, oh, I know who lives in that community. I know how we can do some outreach and promotion to the people who live there, to have them fill out their form a little more quickly.
So really, you're really looking to tap into the people that really know the community, know the ins and outs, maybe some of the challenges that they're aware of, to make sure that y'all are being as effective as you can be with your approach and combining it with the locality.
Absolutely. If I show up in a suit and tie and knock on someone's door, they might not listen to me. But if there's somebody from church or somebody from the corner store or somebody that they know, then they might be more willing to talk to that person. And that brings up interesting fact is we're going to be hiring more than 500,000 people for the census effort. And many of those people are going to be what we call enumerators, or people that knock on the door. So those people are the trusted voices in the community. We want to be out there and make sure that people in the community can see those people.
Correct.
So we're going to have jobs available. We want people to sign up for those jobs now. They can start now. The majority of the jobs will be later on, closer to 2020. Of course. But we want people from the community to fill out the form now and start the process of being brought on board the census. Can I say one more thing?
Sure,
those are great jobs too, because they're work from home and they're make your own hours. So there are a lot of people that might, they can only work 2 hours a week. Great. If you can work 40 hours, no problem. So you don't have to show up in an office. You can show up. Everything is done online.
It's about as flexible as a position as you're going to find in today's economy, for sure. As far as you mentioned off the top, again, and I want to stress this, the importance of getting as accurate of a count and making sure that everyone is counted in this process, again, because it affects national dollars, state dollars, local dollars, and certainly in Suffolk, we're focused on that. But again, budgets are made up of all different dollars coming from different areas. But again, the impact, as you mentioned, on political races, as far as how districting goes and everything like that. I mean, it is definitely a major ripple effect that we don't just see right in front of us. There are years that will affect things, how things are done in the local community and also abroad.
In a lot of ways, I feel like it's, this is me talking, I think it's almost a little more important. It's not more important than voting, but it's because it's such a longer term effort. So over a 10-year period, the decisions that people make, if someone's deciding they don't want to fill out their form, today, it's affecting this community for 10 years. So it's important that everybody, get that message and realize that, it's the school lunch programs, the roads, the decision whether or not to build hospitals or schools or whatever here. Many businesses look at census data and say, do we want to put build a business here? And if 30% of the people in the community aren't filling out their form, they may look at this community and say, oh gosh, we can't build this, bring jobs to that community.
And of course, people use data for different reasons, we know these days, but looking for trends, and certainly Suffolk has seen incredible population growth in the last 10, 15 years or so, and again, I'm sure those numbers will probably bear that out again. But the process, you noted, kind of starts initially in spring of 2020. When does everything wrap up? As far as when would the door-to-door counters be done, and after that, is there another stage, or that's pretty much the end?
So the entire month of April will be we're trying mostly the electronic version, and then after that, we're going to start doing what we call non-response follow-up, where we're having to send the telephone option, the mailing, and the door knockers. I don't know exactly. Nobody knows exactly when it's going to be over, but I think we are saying that we're going to be done probably by August. The numbers have to be on the president's desk by December 31st, 2020. They have to be there. That's mandated. So we have to be complete. So I would say we're probably going to be done by August, but I don't know for sure.
Now, once everything is done, it hits the president's desk, it's done at that point. When do we start seeing that data pushed out to your portals and also pushed out as far as within the community so that everyone can start using that data to, again, make some of those informed decisions?
It takes a couple of months. So the president sees it, and then it goes to the city and the community. Then it gets released a couple months after that.
Got it. Now, if someone's watching this program and they think, well, I've done the census before, or maybe they haven't done the census before, as the case would be, what would you say, on top of everything else we've noted so far, to encourage them to take the time to go online, to make that phone call, to fill out the form, to answer the door when someone comes by if we get to that stage in the process? Just that one little sales pitch, I guess, if you will.
Yeah, it's part of our democracy. This is part of who we are in this country. We need to make sure that every person who is a resident in this country is counted. So we understand the demographics of our country, and I think, importantly, we just need to make sure that that the community is getting everything that it should be getting, and as far as every single dollar is coming back to this community. This is your money. This is low-hanging fruit. If the people are here, then the money will be available from the federal government. So over 10 years, $4 trillion comes back into the community, $675 billion per year, $4 trillion. So that money that's available. So if you don't fill out your form, that money's not coming back to the community.
And you don't know that maybe you think, well, I don't have a child that's in school, I don't need to worry about this. But then again, you might have a grandchild or a relative or something else, again, where you're trying to count those dollars when it comes to yourself or members of your family. And I think it's great as far as that community outreach piece. I'm sure it's been done in the past, but I know it's really been ramped up this time for sure, to get into the community and get the community to help the community count itself.
That's absolutely right. I mean, it's, I can do this all day long, but I need the army of people in Suffolk to talk to their neighbors, to the people in their churches and synagogues, and their places of worship. I need help. The Census Bureau needs help from everybody to make sure that the message is getting out and that people understand that this is vitally important for the community.
All right, Kevin, well, I appreciate your time with us today. Again, Census 2020, we're talking about it in 2019, but it will be here before you know it. But again, giving you some information so you know what to expect, kind of how the process is going to roll out. And again, the importance to the Suffolk community and the communities beyond as well, as far as what the impact of this will be. Again, Kevin, thanks for your time today.
Happy to be here.
Appreciate it. That will do it for this edition of On the Scene. I'm your host, Tim Kelly. We'll see you next time.